I needed a job. College loans were suffocating me. My landlord had already warned me twice about the rent, and the grocery list was getting shorter every week. So when I saw an online ad that read night security monitor, no experience needed, $25 hour, I didn't care if it sounded too good to be true. I applied immediately. The job was at an old storage facility, about 20 minutes out of town, isolated, industrial, the kind of place you forget exists until you need it. When I got there, the building looked abandoned from the outside. Chipped paint, flickering lights, and a sign that had lost half its letters. A man named Ron greeted me. Well, not exactly greeted. He opened the door, didn't smile, didn't speak much, just handed me a badge and a laminated card that said, Night Rules. There were only 4 rules on that card. 1. Never leave the monitoring room. 2. Check all 12 camera feeds every 5 minutes. 3. If you see camera 9 go black, press the red button under the desk. 4. If you hear knocking on the door, ignore it. I asked him if this was some kind of joke or horror-themed onboarding. He didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. Just follow the rules, he said, turned around, and left me standing there. The monitoring room was small and smelled like dust and old wires. There was one metal desk, one squeaky chair, and a wall of 12 grainy monitors. Each was labeled Cam 1 through Cam 12. Most of them showed what you'd expect: dark corridors, padlocked storage units, and flickering overhead lights. The first couple hours were uneventful. Camera 1 showed the front gate. Camera 2 had a view of the parking lot empty. Cameras 3 through 8 were just rows of identical storage units. Camera 9 showed a narrow hallway that seemed colder than the rest, even on the screen. 10 through 12 were loading bays and maintenance rooms. I got into a rhythm. Every 5 minutes, cycle through the cameras, sip my coffee, try not to fall asleep. Then, at exactly 1:17 a.m., camera 9 started to glitch. Not static, not black, just flickering between frames, as if something was interfering. I checked the card again, only press the red button if it goes black, so I didn't touch anything. I just waited. By 1:19 a.m., camera 9 returned to normal. It showed the same hallway, silent and dusty, nothing out of place. But at 1:24 a.m., I heard knocking. 3 knocks, slow, precise, right on the door of the monitoring room. At first I thought I imagined it, maybe the pipes, maybe the building settling, but then it happened again. 3 knocks. Exactly the same rhythm, this time louder. I stared at the door, my body frozen. No footsteps, no voices, just silence, then nothing. I remembered the 4th rule. If you hear knocking on the door, ignore it. Easy to read. Hard to obey when there's something standing just a few feet away from you, separated only by a thin metal door. I didn't move, didn't speak. I just kept my eyes locked on the door until the silence stretched on for so long that I began to think maybe I was imagining it all. Eventually, I went back to watching the cameras. Everything seemed normal again. Camera 9 was stable. No glitches, no shadows, just the same hallway. But something about it felt wrong to still, like the silence had weight. Then, around 1:46 a.m., I noticed something on camera 7. One of the storage unit doors was open. That unit had been closed all night. I rewound the footage, something I probably wasn't even supposed to do, but the door didn't open in the recording. It was just closed in one frame, open in the next. No one came, no one left, no sound. I leaned closer. The inside of the unit was pitch black. Even with the camera's night vision, it was just a void. A few minutes later, I heard something that didn't belong, a whisper. Not a voice I recognized, not even words, really. Just whispering, like someone talking through broken speakers. It wasn't coming from outside the room. It was coming from the monitor speakers. Camera 7, to be exact. The open unit. I turned up the volume slightly, and the whisper got clearer. Still not English, but now it had a rhythm, like a chant. My skin crawled. I picked up the radio on the desk and called Ron. Hey, Unit 47B is open on Cam 7. Did someone forget to lock it? Static. Then Ron's voice came through, slow and flat. Don't look inside it. That was it. That was all he said. No follow-up, no instructions, just don't look inside it. And then silence again. I muted the audio, turned the monitor off, and just stared at the wall. This place wasn't normal. I should have left right then. I should have walked out. But something about the way Ron said it, I felt like if I opened that door, I wouldn't be walking out at all. I kept the monitor for camera 7 off after that. I didn't even want to see the open unit anymore. I focused on the others, trying to distract myself, telling myself the shift was almost over. But then, just after 2:11 a.m., camera 9 glitched again. This time worse than before. Not just flickering frames were jumping like someone was editing the footage in real time. 1 second it showed the empty hallway, the next second nothing, total darkness, then static, then back again. But just for a split second, I saw something. There was a figure, not walking, not crawling, just there, standing in the middle of the hallway, too far from the camera to make out details, but it was tall, thin, almost too tall. Its limbs looked out of proportion. No facial features, just a pale shape with an elongated head and arms that nearly touched the floor. I stared, frozen, waiting for it to move, to disappear, anything. Then camera 9 went black, completely. I didn't think. I slammed the red button under the desk. It made a loud mechanical noise like a shutter slamming down somewhere deep in the facility. I waited for something to happen, for Ron to call, for the camera to come back. Nothing. Camera 9 stayed black. And then I heard breathing. Not mine. It was coming from behind me, but I was alone in the room. I turned around slowly. Nothing there. Nothing visible anyway. But the air felt heavier, like something else was sharing the space with me now. I sat perfectly still, not even breathing, while the sound continued slow, deep, raspy inhales and exhales that didn't belong to me. Then the door handle jiggled, just once. I almost jumped out of my skin. I remembered the rule. Ignore it. But what if someone needed help? What if someone was trapped out there? What if Ron was testing me? I didn't move. A piece of paper slid under the door. I stared at it for a full minute before I picked it up. It had one sentence written in shaky handwriting. You shouldn't have pressed the button. I stared at the paper in my hands, my fingers trembling slightly. The handwriting was uneven, almost childlike, as if whoever wrote it wasn't used to using their hands at all. My first instinct was to run, just bolt out the door and never come back. But the fourth rule echoed in my mind like a threat. If you hear knocking on the door, ignore it. They didn't say what would happen if you broke the rules. But now I had pressed the red button and I had interacted with whatever was behind that door. I was already in violation. The monitors began flickering. All of them, not just camera 9. The screen for camera 3 briefly showed a person standing just outside the building, facing the wall, then gone. Camera 10 showed one of the maintenance rooms, but it wasn't empty anymore. There was a chair in the middle. Someone was sitting in it. Their head was bowed down, but I could see them shaking as if they were sobbing or laughing. I leaned in closer. Suddenly the figure snapped their head up, looking straight at the camera, eyes black as voids, mouth stretched into a grin far too wide for a human face. I flinched and looked away. When I looked back, empty room. I grabbed my phone to call Ron again, but the screen wouldn't turn on. Dead. I had at least 60% battery earlier. The wall clock had stopped ticking to 2:38 a.m. Stuck. The whispering returned, this time from multiple cameras. I turned the volume down completely, but I could still hear it. Not from the monitors, from the walls. Scratching sounds, tiny at first, then louder like fingernails dragging down metal. I pressed my back to the wall, trying to center myself. I wasn't prepared for this. No amount of hourly pay could justify this madness. Then camera 9 came back online. The hallway was lit by red emergency lights now. Something had triggered the lockdown, but that wasn't the worst part. There were footprints on the floor, wet, dark, fresh, and they were getting longer, like something was crawling on all fours, but with limbs too stretched, too sharp. I could see the movement now, crawling just out of frame, hugging the edges of the camera's view like it knew exactly where it couldn't be seen. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't want to watch, but I couldn't look away. Suddenly, the screen glitched, and the creature no thing crawled straight toward the camera. Just before the feed cut out again, I saw its face. It was wearing my face. The moment I saw my own face staring back at me through that camera, twisted, distorted, stretched across something that wasn't human, I recoiled so hard I nearly fell out of the chair. The feed cut to static, but the image was burned into my mind. It wasn't just my face. It was wearing it, like a mask, like it had studied me. I wanted to scream, to break the monitors, to run, but where, outside that door, was whatever had knocked. Whatever had slid that paper under. I was trapped. That's when the lights in the room began to dim, not flicker dim, as if the building itself was exhaling, releasing something old and rotten into the air. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath. I wrapped my arms around myself and tried to focus on the cameras. Most were now static. Only one remained active, camera 12, showing the back exit of the facility. Someone was standing there. It was me. Same clothes, same face, same posture. But I wasn't moving, just standing perfectly still in the doorway, staring up at the camera. Then, slowly, my doppelganger raised a hand and waved. I shoved my chair back so hard it hit the wall. My heart was thundering. That thing wasn't just copying me, it was trying to replace me. I scrambled for the security drawer, hoping to find a weapon, anything. Inside there was only a flashlight and an old, dusty Polaroid camera. I didn't know why it was there, but I grabbed both anyway. Suddenly, a deafening screech rang out from the monitors. Every screen flashed red with one word: return. The door behind me creaked open. I hadn't touched it. It wasn't supposed to open unless I unlocked it, but it was opening, slowly, like something was inviting me out. The hallway beyond was pitch black. I aimed the flashlight, but it barely cut through the darkness, like the shadows were swallowing the light itself. And then, at the very end of the hall, I saw a figure, not standing, hanging, suspended mid-air, limbs twitching like a puppet on strings. As I stared in horror, the figure suddenly snapped its head toward me. No eyes, just hollow socket sand, let out a sound I will never forget. A laugh, not loud, not angry, just disappointed. It began whispering, just like the voices from before, but this time, it said my name. Hearing it whisper my name from the darkness, not shouting, not threatening, but knowing, broke something inside me. It was like being seen by something that wasn't supposed to see. My legs moved on their own. I stepped into the hallway, against every survival instinct I had. The flashlight flickered as I walked, and the walls around me seemed to shift subtly. Doors I hadn't noticed before. Corridors that weren't on the blueprints Ron showed me. The place was changing. Or maybe it had always been like this, and I was only now seeing it for what it really was. I passed by Camera 9's hallway. It looked normal again. No emergency lights, no red glow, just calm. But I could hear soft footsteps behind me, always just a few seconds behind my own. I turned around. No one, nothing. But the air shimmered, like heat rising from asphalt. Something was following me. I don't know why I did it, but I pulled out the Polaroid camera from the drawer. I pointed it behind me and took a photo. The flash lit up the hallway for a second, and the picture developed in my hand. There was something behind me, tall, bent. Its face was still mine, but melting, drooping like wax, and it was smiling. I dropped the photo, heart racing, and ran. I didn't know where I was going anymore. Every turn led to more hallways, more locked units. Some of them weren't even made of metal anymore. Some looked like old doors from homes, from churches, from places that didn't belong in a storage facility. One had my childhood bedroom door on it. That's when I saw the back exit, the one from camera 12. It was wide open, and standing in front of it was me, again, still smiling, still waving. I raised the flashlight, and it did the same. I stepped forward, so did it. It was mirroring me perfectly, until I stopped, and it didn't. It kept walking forward, closer, closer, until we were face to face. Then it leaned forward and whispered, in my own voice, "You've already left. I'm just finishing the shift." When I woke up, I was lying in my apartment bed, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding. Sunlight was coming through the windows. I jumped up, checked my phone, full battery. The time was 8:47 a.m. My night shift should have ended hours ago. I grabbed my car keys and rushed back to the storage facility. It wasn't there, just an empty lot, fenced off, no buildings, no signs. The address doesn't even exist on Google Maps. But here's the part that keeps me awake at night. On my desk, at home, was a single Polaroid photo. It showed me sitting in the monitor room, smiling, waving at the camera, and behind me, that thing, still wearing my face.